The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. After more than a year of being stuck at home, children are now allowed to go outdoors in GCQ and modified GCQ areas. Camille Samonte with the story.
Some families visited the Manila Baywalk on Sunday following a new policy that allows children aged 5 years and above to go outdoors in areas under looser restrictions. Marco Lorenzo immediately took the opportunity to let his two kids play.
Malaking tulong kasi unang-una sa resistensya ng katawan. Kasi pag sa bahay, limited yung mga activities eh. Hindi naman po ganun kalakihan yung bahay namin. Hindi naman sila makakatakbo. Mas maganda talaga nasa labas, nakakatakbo-takbo sila. Tsaka yung social interaction nila sa ibang bata.
However, Marco's youngest child is only 3 years old and is not covered under the new IATF policy.
Bawal siya pero kawawa naman, di ba, kung maiiwan yung isa. Sinama na po namin, mayroon naman po siyang face mask. Ingat na lang din po, may dala kaming mga alcohol, ganyan.
Lizelle Duran also brought her 1-year-old nephew along her teenage grandchildren.
Sa tagal po ng panahon na hindi nakakalabas yung mga bata, at least ngayon pinayagan na po. Kaya masaya para sa mga bata. Siyempre sila malungkot kasi sila pag tsaka yung kulang sila sa exercise. Kasi nga hindi nakakalabas ng bata.
Although excited with the new policy, Ruel Jonel said they are still taking necessary precautions.
Natakot siyempre kasi pag galing kami sa labas, uwi ng bahay, siyempre kailangan namin na mag-ingat din para sa mga anak namin, para di sila mahawa.
Malacanang announced on Friday that the new policy will only be implemented in areas under modified GCQ and GCQ, except in areas with heightened restrictions. Those age 5 and above are allowed in outdoor areas such as parks, beach, playgrounds, and outdoor tourist sites, among others. They are also allowed to engage in outdoor non-contact sports and dine in alfresco establishments. But malls are still off limits to children younger than 15 years old. Health Undersecretary Rosario Vergeire on Saturday stressed that despite the easing of restrictions for children, adult supervision is still required.
We must ensure that the caregiver or the parents are there to supervise and that they will be wearing their mask at saka hindi po sila talaga magva-violate ng safety protocols natin.
Vergeire also noted that the IATF allowed the new policy for the mental well-being of children.
Meron na mga pag-aaral na talagang na ang ating mga kabataan dahil po dito sa pandemya at sa lockdowns. It is already affecting their physical and mental health, and this is based on evidence already.
The government also authorized LGUs to modify the age restriction depending on their COVID-19 situation. The Metro Manila Council held a meeting earlier today to discuss how the policy will be implemented. They have yet to release uniform guidelines. For News 5, Camille Samonte, we are One News.
Not a sign of complacency. This is what Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat has to say about the move to ease restrictions for mobility of children. Rather, Puyat encouraged everyone to still remain vigilant and responsible in following the minimum health standards. This came after the national government allowed children and fully vaccinated senior citizens to visit outdoor leisure sites. Aside from boosting local tourism, Puyat said the move is also beneficial for the physical and mental well-being. Many countries are easing COVID-19 restrictions, but with the emergence of the Delta variant, this may have to be reconsidered. More details on this Bloomberg video.
The COVID-19 pandemic took a toll on the world's health and economy. At the pandemic's onset, governments worldwide imposed restrictions on business and travel to contain the spread of the virus.
We will see more cases and things will get worse than they are right now. It is 10 times more lethal than the seasonal flu. The flu has a mortality of 0.1%. This has a mortality of 10 times that.
The measures disrupted the world's economy and caused massive job losses in many service industries. Governments rushed to provide stimulus as central banks eased monetary policy.
We are deploying these lending powers to an unprecedented extent, enabled in large part by the financial backing from the Congress and the Treasury.
By the end of last year, pharmaceutical companies and governments had come together to develop vaccines faster than anyone expected. But rates of vaccination around the world are still uneven. According to the University of Oxford, 25% of the world population overall has received at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. But that includes a range of from over 50% in North America to just over 1% in Africa.
We provide clear and compelling case for accelerating vaccinations everywhere.
The health crisis is now easing in much of the world, and many countries are rolling back their restrictions. Some countries, including the United States, have scrapped mask mandates for those who are vaccinated.
We'll move away from legal restrictions and allow people to make their own informed decisions about how to manage the virus.
The latest setback in the global recovery is the Delta variant, which stoked a dramatic wave of COVID cases in India. Now, the variant accounts for over half of the new cases in the United States.
In today's briefing, we discussed how the Delta variant is already responsible for half of all cases in many parts of this country.
The highly contagious variant sent Sydney back into lockdown and is threatening the Tokyo Olympics. Japan plans to declare a state of emergency for Tokyo as the Delta variant spreads in the eastern part of the country.
What we want to do is give us our best chance of making sure this is the only lockdown we have until the vast majority of our citizens are vaccinated.
Vice President Leni Robredo is calling on the government to declare a crisis in education to address the needs of students and teachers hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. Robredo's call came after the World Bank reported that the Philippines has poor state of education based on various internal metrics. She also cited an assessment from the ASEAN Foundation that said 34,500 of the schools have no internet access, while 5,000 are without electricity. The World Bank subsequently apologized to the government and DepEd for the, quote, inadvertent release of their report. But for Robredo, the DepEd should focus on fixing education problems instead of asking for an apology from the international body. Now, here are other stories we're keeping our eyes on. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana says the armed forces cannot close down yet some of, quote, unauthorized bank accounts that the Commission on Audit flagged in its 2020 audit report. Lorenzana explains that these accounts serve as depository accounts for the current projects of the DND and AFP. He added, however, that they are now processing the closure of other accounts. Human rights watchdog Karapatan claims that most killings and political arrests in the country occurred in areas with the biggest barangay development program fund. The program is initiated by Anti-Insurgency Task Force and TFL-CAP. Karapatan says political insurgencies from the highest funded barangays even increased since Duterte started his term in 2016. And the National Police reports that crime volume in the country has decreased by 64% during Duterte's term. The PNP claims that around 395,000 index crimes were documented nationwide from July 2016 to June 2021, much lower compared to the over 1,113,000 crimes recorded during the previous administration. For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World Online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.